Please note that this content is for adults only. Viewer discretion advised. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe, like, and share. Welcome back to another live stream with me, Grizzly. This is Grizzly True Crime, and today we continue to look at the cases in Bardstown, Kentucky. We've looked in depth at the case of Crystal Rogers, and we've also looked at the case of her dad, Tommy Ballard, and the developments in those two cases, right? Hopefully they'll both get justice very soon. There's been 2 suspects arrested related to the murder of Crystal Rogers, and the prosecution believes that they now have the gun that was used to kill Tommy Ballard. So that was big news. If you missed all that big news and all those deep dives, please check out the playlist that I've linked for you in my description box. Okay? So thank you. Welcome, mods. Thank you for everything you do. Welcome to all my patrons and members. And we're going to be deep diving probably cases that you have never heard of, because before I started going down the rabbit hole of Bardstown Unsolved murders, I hadn't heard of some of these. I know we've heard of Jason Ellis's murder and Crystal Rogers, Tommy Ballard. We sort of talked a little bit about the Netherlands murder, which was a mother and a daughter. We're going to deep dive that today as well. But there's some others too. Thank you so much, Catherine. I really, really appreciate it. So let me show you the presentation I've made for you today. Let's first move myself over here. And while I get that ready, got a little timeline to go over. I just wanted to let you guys know that today, I've been telling you throughout the week, there was supposed to be a hearing. There was a hearing for Richard Allen in Delphi. It actually happened in the Allen Superior Court, and that hearing lasted 3 minutes. And all that happened, which is huge news. I've already made a YouTube short about it, so check out my YouTube shorts if you ever want updates like that. That's quick, right? Or check out X. You can follow me there. But his Richard Allen's defense attorneys have withdrawn. Okay, so that's the news in Delphi. If there's any documents, they are anticipating documents to come out from that. I will keep you posted, all right? And we'll read through that then tomorrow, and I'll update you beyond that. But for now, check out my YouTube short for updates on that. Catherine, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Okay. So, now, unsolved murders in Bardstown. Are we ready? Okay, you guys are processing that information. Yes, indeed. Now, if we can, I just wanted to tell you that so that people don't roll in chat and just spam the chat. Although that news, we know about that news in Delphi. So that's big news, I know. We will address that in a separate video or stream, whatever. Now let's focus on these unsolved murders in Bardstown and give these victims and their families the love and respect that they deserve. So look at this little visual timeline that I've made for you, okay? We're going to start here with March 25th of 1990, the murder of Lucinda Strange. These are all unsolved murders, although with Crystal Rogers, now there's at least been 2 arrests made, and her former boyfriend was charged with murder and tampering with evidence. And as I said earlier, they believe now that they've got the gun to kill Tommy Ballard. So those 2 are getting closer to justice. But what about the others? Lucinda Strange, we're going to get into all the details. March 25th, 1990. Then there's Daniel Cahoe, January 5th of 2012. His brother, there was an attempted murder of him 1 week before that. Then there's Jim Duckett, November 9th, 2008. Thank you to Dem Rogers for alerting me to that one as well to add to this presentation. Then Jason Ellis, May 25th of 2013. We've got Kathy and Samantha Netherland from April 21st of 2014. And then Crystal Rogers, July 3rd, 2015, and Tommy Ballard, November 19th of 2016. So these families are devastated. They've never had answers. No suspects arrested, besides, of course, Crystal Rogers' case. And they thought, like, maybe in a few months there'll be, some developments, and it's been years. I mean, think of this one from 1990. Shame. Absolutely terrible. Yes, Bardstown, Kentucky. So if you guys haven't been following these cases with me, Crystal Rogers and so, check out the playlist. Now let's get into each one. Okay? We're going to look at each case and make sure that their families are also heard. I mean, they're still looking for answers. And of course, the question is, well, now that they've arrested Brooks Houck and another shady character, Joseph Lawson, that we've done a whole deep dive on his background, I wonder about him a lot as well. Like, him and his dad. I wonder if his dad will ever face charges or not. We don't know anything that he did. All that we know is that his dad, Joseph Lawson's dad, used to work with Brooks Houck. Okay? We know that from the interrogation video. So if you missed it, check it out. But now, could any of these other cases, this one is a little bit earlier, but you still never know. You never know. Okay? So, Lucinda Strange, March 25th of 1990. If you could, for each case, if you can like the video, I think you can only like it once, but if you can share, for each time we go through a case and say hashtag Lucinda Strange. And then the next one will be like hashtag Daniel Cahoe. That would be really great so that we can get some hashtags going for these victims and their families. Okay, so Lucinda Strange, a mother of two, was a hostess for the Holiday Inn in Bardstown with her daughter. So her daughter was also working there and attended Elizabethtown Community College. She loved spending time with her children, and on Sunday, March 25th of 1990, 39-year-old Lucinda Strange went out for her regular daily walk at 7 p.m. She was stabbed more than 40 times and had severe blunt force trauma to her head and was left on the side of the road. Her body was found on Clarkstown Road in Bardstown, about 200 yards, 182 meters or so from her home. Her headphones and broken radio were next to her body. Her husband, Jerome Strange, believes it could be a case of mistaken identity. No suspects have ever been identified, and Lucinda's case remains unsolved. Now, it's unbelievably close to the Houck family farm is all I'm going to say. I will show you so that you can see the map time. Lucinda Strange was murdered here just randomly and violently, and no one's ever been caught, and the Houck family farm is here. I'm not saying that they have anything to do with it. I just thought the location was interesting, and I mean, if one were to speculate, or if the one brother is already charged with murder, I don't know what they were up to at age 8 and 11. It's unlikely, but if it's two disturbed brothers, who knows? I'm not saying that they're involved in any way, but I also don't know anything else about the rest of the family. I mean, we know that, what we do know is the grandmother sold her Buick when the police wanted to execute a search warrant on it, and just all kinds of things. A couple of red flags. Put it this way. There's a couple of red flags at the Houck family farm, and I didn't actually know it was going to turn out to be this way. When I did the map time, I was really shocked. I literally ran through the house. I had to show Mr. Grizzly, like, oh my word, look how close this is, and then give him a rundown of the whole case, of course. Just like, that is strangely close. So let me just quickly show you this. If we go in from here, I mean, it would actually, I'm just going to go straight like this. It's 0.77 of a mile. My goodness. Okay. So that's all I can say about that for now. Now we continue on. Shame, and her husband is in so much pain, of course, still. And he just said he has nowhere to vent his anger because there's no suspects. I just want to see. Yeah, we're still going to see that. Authorities investigated a rumor that Lucinda may have either seen or known about illegal drug activity at her workplace. Doesn't that sound familiar? If you have looked at this case with me in depth, Crystal Rogers case, Tommy Ballard, Jason Ellis, and the Houck brothers. Interesting how that little sentence often comes up, isn't it? So, Lucinda may have either seen or known about illegal drug activity at her workplace. The police investigated the rumor and found nothing to corroborate the Holiday Inn drug rumor. Police also investigated Jerome, her husband, since they always try to rule out obvious suspects like the significant other, or family members, friends, or co-workers. Months later, Jerome sold his home and left. So let me show you this one quickly here. Shame, this poor guy. They might show us an ad now. Hold on. They're gonna show us an ad now. Just while they do that, let me just move this over for you. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the stream. If you haven't yet subscribed, do so now. Become part of this wonderful community.
Bardstown mother was murdered. Her husband is talking about her violent death.
WDRB's Joel Skipper tonight tells us about the prayers he hopes are answered.
You have to go on with your life, so it comes with you. You know, you stay there, it stays with you all the time.
Jerome Strange wipes away tears as he remembers his wife, Lucinda, who was found murdered nearly 30 years ago in front of their Bardstown home in March of 1990.
She said, "I'm going walking now." And then about an hour later, somebody come knocking on the door and said, "There's somebody on the side of the road down here."
A metal cross marks the spot where Lucinda Strange's body was found here along Clarktown Road. She had been hit in the head and stabbed more than 40 times.
I never thought about, somebody killing her. I just thought she got hit by a car.
The mother of two worked at a nearby hotel with her daughter and loved spending time with her children.
That was the Christmas before she was killed. It was Christmas of 1989.
Since the killing, no arrests have been made, and it's now a cold case. Kentucky State Police say it's been years since any leads or tips have come in. Even nearly 3 decades later, Strange hopes the next call he receives will be the one he's been waiting for, but knows the reality of that happening fades each day.
I go pick the phone up and call, and they say, "We're going to make an arrest today."
Shame. Oh no, shame. Oh, wait, I'll continue to play it in a moment now. See, you guys are asking how old were the Houck brothers. They were 8 and 11 years old. Nick was 11. Brooks was 8. So that's very unlikely, but you just never know, especially with, rumors of gang initiation and all kinds of stuff in the area. Or maybe it's this network group that they may have speculatively become part of. We're speculating big time there, but the point is, it's very odd, especially when you look at all these cases that happen in such a small community. No suspects arrested. And the location, interesting. Renee, thank you so much for your sticker. I really appreciate it. Now, we're going to finish this video, okay? And then we're going to continue on. Shame.
But that never happened,
For him, there is no anger over her death because it's so overshadowed by too much unknown.
Right now, there's nobody to vent that anger towards,
Strange believes no matter what happens with the case, he will never have closure. A loved one taken too soon in such a brutal and violent way.
You want them locked up, but it's not a revenge factor. It's just so they can't do it to another family. Haven't gave up all hope. It's just pretty low right now,
In Bardstown, Joel Skipper, WDRB News.
Shame. And this article is from 2020 and that interview. I mean, she was murdered in 1990. That is a long time to have no answers, right? And you guys, I can see what you're saying with, I don't know anything about the Houck dad or grandfather or the family tree or anything like that. It would be interesting. I'd love to know more. But how sad is it that this case from 1990 is unsolved? And she just went on a normal walk and then was stabbed 40 times. It's horrible. And no one saw anything. They just found Lucinda lying on the side of the road like that. So now we're going to look at the case of Jim Duckett, November 9th, 2008. 43-year-old Jim Duckett was an Army veteran, loving father, a DOS High graduate, and well-liked man with a great sense of humor. Jim served several years of active duty in Desert Storm, and after he retired from the military due to an injury, he actually relocated to Germany, where he became a crime scene investigator. He later moved to Kentucky to be closer to his sister, Catherine Nichols. He was tied to a chair in the bathroom. Now, if you've ever heard, especially if you're local, welcome to all the locals, of the case that we'll look at in this presentation today of a mother and daughter that were murdered, the Netherlands, Kathy and Samantha Netherlands, right? They were also tied to chairs and tortured. One was stabbed, one was shot. So this is just, there's some similarities in some of these cases where he was tied to a chair in the bathroom and tortured and murdered in his home on November 9th of 2008. He had been stabbed. They also said that his throat had been cut. And so his rescue puppy was found in a separate room unharmed. That sounds almost like the Idaho case, right? His sister said that a month before the murder, he had said that his home was burglarized when he wasn't home and he wanted to move. She said he seemed off for the month before he was murdered. Okay. So if you guys are local, because I know there has been lots of locals in the chat when we were covering Crystal Rogers' case, which we continue to follow. Joseph Lawson will actually be in court again on October 26th. So that's next week. Brooks Houck in February. So we'll be keeping a close eye on all of these developments. But if you are local and are in chat and know anything more about these cases I'm presenting to you today, please send me an email, grizzlytruecrime@gmail.com. I keep all my sources anonymous. You don't have to worry that I'm going to say your name or say where I got it or anything like that. Don't worry, okay? I recently had a few people say, okay, please don't read out my name or don't read this out. Don't worry, I protect all my sources, okay? So, thank you. Steel Guitar says, posthumous thanks for your service, sir. Right? I mean, what? I mean, the family of Jim Duckett are like, why? Like, who would do this? Okay, so the killer actually stole his Dodge Ram pickup truck, used his ATM card at the Shelbyville Fifth Third Bank. There was surveillance of this, as you can see on the right-hand side, and then ditched it. The police believe the killer knew Jim, but they've never found a suspect or made any arrests despite having surveillance. The killer drove across town to the ATM that Jim used. So I'm going to show you that on the map as well. So it's as if, they knew him, they saw his card, they knew which bank he'd go to, they went to that ATM, and then dished his Dodge Ram pickup. Several days before the murder, the ATM was serviced, and the camera lens was put back improperly, which is why the images aren't clear. Oh my goodness. Yeah, you guys are all like, wait, and they haven't found a suspect? I know. In all these cases, like, so shocking, such a small town. I mean, it does remind us a bit of Delphi, when it's like, oh, you've got this and this, although there's an arrest made. Here, it's like having the person on camera. He was at the house, all of this, but they've never found a suspect. And so they said Kentucky State Police still have a reward for information leading to an arrest in this case. If you have any information, so if any of this rings a bell, if you're local or something and you're like, oh my word, I saw something, then please say something. It's never too late to share information. Sometimes cold case detectives say, when they go back out there and knock on doors, then, someone said, actually it was Joe Jackalone that said recently, in cold cases, when you go out there and knock on doors, then someone will say, well, I've been waiting 20 or 30 years for this, right? For someone to come and approach me and ask questions. So let's hope that if anyone in this chat knows anything, that you will take the lead, go forward, share that information. It could help solve some cases here. Now, the number to call is actually 502-227-2221. Okay, so if you want to screenshot that or just remember it or come back to the stream anytime. But yeah, those are the pictures. Let me zoom in for you. That's all they have because the lens was put back improperly. Oh no. And Barbara says, I wonder if they lifted DNA from the vehicle. I wonder. Doesn't sound like it. Okay, so let me show you this. I'll show you quickly. Wait. This would be this map right here. I've been doing a lot of map time for you guys on all these cases because I'm like, wait a minute, what and where? Let's quickly look here. That should be good. Let's move it across. So you can see this. We've looked at these maps here before, but let me just show you, the Houck family farm is here, the Ballard family farm. You can see where Tommy Ballard was shot here. Nick Houck's house, Brooke Houck's house, all of this, right? We've looked at this. So just so that you can see, Jason Ellis was shot here. We'll go over that again now. We're going to look at the case here of Daniel Cahoe, that he was found there. And this is where Jim Duckett's home was. And the person who went there tied him to a chair, tortured him, and then stabbed him and stole his truck. Drove all the way across town. So they must have driven all the way up here and across here into Shelbyville to this surveillance. There was surveillance here to this bank, right? You humming the Maptime song to yourself. Sorry about that, Angel Ray. It's because we're going to do Maptime so many times today. I'm not going to play it every time, right? We'll play it like 10 times. So that is what they mean with he drove all the way across town. All right. So there you can see just the perspective there. I don't know why. Like gut feel is just like, look, I don't know. I mean, we only know of that one Joseph Lawson, shady guy. We know of the Hawks brothers and then Joseph Lawson. But when I saw the picture of the surveillance, I'm like, maybe they can look into Joseph Lawson. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe with these arrests, they can figure some stuff out. Or maybe he can share some information that could be helpful of any gangs that operate in the area. I don't know if there are gangs there, but you know what I mean? Like an underground drug network or something. Who knows? And who knows what some of these people stumble on, which makes them, targets for these people. Because Jim Duckett was also an experienced crime scene investigator. So what did he stumble on? I'll worry about that. Okay. So now let's continue with our presentation there. So sending lots of love to Jim Duckett's family as well. I just want to see if I've got
now
a
at
clip.
5 on WHS.
Sorry, that's not it. I might have a clip for you. I just want to see. No, not for this one. Okay. So that's what we have there. Right. It feels so weird to like continue on and it's just like case after case after case in one area that's unsolved. My word. So Daniel, they actually say Cahoe. I would almost say Cahoe, but it's Cahoe is how you pronounce his name, I've heard. January 12th of 2012. Daniel Cahoe was born on April 21st of 1977, and he actually had an identical twin, Roger. So that's something important to consider here. He also had another brother called Nathaniel. He loved the outdoors, hunting, fishing, and was nicknamed Sparky by those who knew him. He was a free spirit and became a bit of a drifter, although he was never homeless. He worked some part-time jobs in Bardstown. He worked at the Boone's butcher shop for about a decade, doing all sorts of work for them. So they said all kinds, like yard work and painting and, handyman stuff, and then working in the butcher shop and all of that. Yes, Kerry is saying, oh my, experienced CSI guy definitely could be related to his work. That would be for Jim Duckett, yes. So when he was 24 in 2001, he had a son, also named Daniel. In 2011, he spent Christmas Eve with his dad and his 10-year-old son. He was then a no-show for Christmas celebrations the next day, but his family thought, well, he became a bit of a, like they say, free spirit, a bit of a drifter. He'd go for a few days and then, show up again. So they thought, okay, well, it is Christmas, but okay, maybe he's just doing his own thing. The family tried to get hold of him, but they could not locate him. So that was a little strange to them, but they weren't too concerned. Then on December 31st, in the early hours of the morning, Daniel's identical twin brother Roger was shot in the stomach. Here they said the hostile encounter was described as a domestic dispute between Roger and a woman, which spilled out to include 58-year-old Edward O'Brien, who ultimately pulled the trigger and fired at Daniel's twin brother. So that sounds like fighting over a girlfriend or something issue there, okay? Then he was taken to the hospital and survived. Eddie, the guy who shot him, was charged with first-degree assault, tampering with physical evidence, and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Still, the family could not get hold of Daniel, so they thought that's really weird because they were trying to tell him, your brother's been shot. His identical twin brother is like, hello, he's been shot. But they couldn't get hold of him. Then they got worried. On January 5th of 2012, someone was driving on the rural roads in Spencer County. The driver saw a gap in the old shack. This is literally the barn, an old barn, and thought that they saw a body. That's quite the spotting, eh? Driving past, seeing a gap. I mean, imagine if they didn't see it. And thinking, is that a body in there? So they called the police. The police came, they found a body in there. An autopsy was performed and the body was identified as Daniel Cahoe's. He had been shot in the head execution style, not self-inflicted, and his death is being investigated as a homicide. So that's interesting too. They say the police believe that Daniel was killed on January 2nd of 2011, about 3 days before his body was found. But they didn't know where he was from Christmas until then. They said he was shot at point-blank range. Police learned that he had also not shown up to work in the 2 weeks that he went missing. You see, so he was missing for 2 weeks already. Then, investigators thought that, this is another one that's interesting again, it's the same type of language that they use in this area. They say, investigators thought perhaps he stumbled on something that he shouldn't have, like a drug deal gone awry. This is not me saying this. This is from the police. This is from all the articles I've read, all the research I've done. I just highlight what they say and I'm like, oh, really? Interesting. Do all roads lead to the Houck family farm? I don't know. You know what I mean? I'd be like, start there, investigate the network and all the connections and go out from there. Who knows? So then they say this. The only thing that gave investigators pause was Daniel's willingness to do odd jobs for scattered pay, an attribute that may also be ascribed to drug dealers, which is like Joseph Lawson and Brooks Houck. That's what makes me think of it. It could be anyone. It could be many people in this community of 13,000 people. But the thing is, remember how Brooks Houck, he conspired to commit murder with Joseph Lawson. That's what Joseph Lawson's been charged with. Therefore, Joseph Lawson, we looked at his background, and he was a bit of a drifter. They said, I mean, this Daniel Cahoe is not described the same way as Joseph Lawson. I'm just saying, a drifter and needing some money, and then doing these odd jobs for Brooks Houck and all that kind of stuff. And then, you know, who knows if Daniel Cahoe over here also did some odd jobs, and what if he cross paths with people like that? Yeah, C. Chinny says, if the police keep saying that, there must be a real problem with drug activity in the area. It's just unbelievable how many unsolved murders there actually are in this area. Such a small, beautiful area. So then they said, another theory, this one sounds pretty plausible. Let me know what you think. Another theory is that it was a case of mistaken identity. His brother had been shot a week before. Roger's shooter was in jail at the time that Daniel was killed, so that's important to know as well. But if Roger's killer, that Eddie guy was in jail at the time, right? And so, what if the Eddie guy had a connection or something and said, just go take care of that guy. This is what he looks like. And then he's got an identical twin. So it could actually be a case of mistaken identity. Anyone with information on this case is urged to call the Kentucky State Police at 1-800-222-5555. There's a reward of $5,000 for information leading to an arrest in this case. His dad said, I know his murder isn't high profile, but he was still a person. That just breaks my heart. That is so sad. Shame. She's like, I know it's not high profile, but you're still a person. Of course. I hope there'll be answers at some point. Anita, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I missed a comment there, but someone is mentioning Court TV. I was on Court TV the other day talking about the Crystal Rogers case and Tommy Ballard and the arrest of Brooks Houck and Joseph Lawson. And Julie Grant asked me on her show opening statements, what is a question that still plagues your mind, that bugs you? And I'm like, we all want to know, well, where's her body? What happened to Crystal? What did they do with her? Right? But the question, the way that I answered it was, I'm very worried about all these other cases that may or may not be connected. So far, the ones that are most plausibly possibly connected would be Crystal Rogers, her dad, Tommy Ballard, and Jason Ellis. But if we expand a little beyond there, that's what I'm trying to do here. It's very concerning, right? So Michael Moore says, criminal masterminds prowling that area. Oh, man. So, yes, that would be the case of Daniel Cahoe. Now we're going to look again at the murder of Jason Ellis. I'll show you a clip as well. Jason Ellis was originally from Cincinnati, Ohio. And if you guys are on Patreon or you're a member, you know I love Cincinnati, Ohio. I'd love to go see Fritz, the hippo there. Or if you're on X, I share Fritz almost daily. So, yes. Okay, there we go. Joni says, that was me, G. I think you'll be back on Court TV with this additional information that you keep pulling up. Thank you so much. So, Jason Ellis was a husband and a dad of 2 kids who was loved in the community. He coached youth baseball in his free time. He was a canine handler. I don't know. Sorry, there's a typo there. A canine handler, narcotics dog for the police department. See, so there's always a little bit of the speculation is the drug link. Now, he was a canine unit narcotics dog police officer for this police department, right? And remember, he worked the same shift as Nick Houck. On May 25th of 2013, Officer Jason Ellis was murdered after finishing his shift for the Bardstown, Kentucky Police Department. So there I said, there he used to work the same shift as Nick Houck, and on that day he finished work at around 3 a.m. Those are some interesting coincidences. He was driving home when he encountered branches blocking the road on exit 34 of the Bluegrass Parkway. He got out of his vehicle to move the branches and was shot several times. He was a canine handler, as I've already said, and coaching youth baseball in his free time. Shame. So that would be Jason Ellis, and former police chief Rick McCubbin said that he isn't sure why Jason Ellis's death remains unsolved to this day. I think everything is in place, but perhaps it's like Crystal or Tommy. They just need one more piece, and that final piece isn't there yet. The FBI has taken the lead in Jason, Crystal, and Tommy's cases, which also adds to the speculation that those 3 cases may be connected. The FBI is offering a reward of $50,000 for information leading to the identification, arrest, and conviction of the individuals responsible for his murder. I read somewhere that the total reward is $200,000, so I'm not sure all the sources of that. It is very rare to have all these cases that are potentially connected in a small community like Nelson County, Assistant Special Agent in Charge Brian Jones said in a 2020 interview. I think that potentially solving any of these cases could bring resolution to the other ones. Yes. Tiff Knox says ballistics? Right? And now if the prosecution says that they believe they have the gun that killed Tommy Ballard, I wonder if they believe that they have the gun that also killed Jason Ellis. Who knows? But shame. These families, my goodness, has been a long wait for justice. So McCubbin said, all the years I was there, we could never tie them in. There's just not that one thing yet that can put them all together. But he said it's not impossible either. Okay, so now I'm going to show you the map again here so that you can see where that happened. So I'm just showing you just for reference. Remember guys, Nick Hauk and Brooks Hauk used to live on the same street. I don't know, like that's why I find Maptime useful. Because from listening to that interrogation, the interview of Nick Hauk, he said his address, and I'm like, that's the same street as your brother. But then he claimed not to know him very well. Right. But just eastward of that, Jason Ellis was shot right here. And I can't remember the name of the person who left a comment. As you know, I read your comments after the stream. I went through there, and I can't always reply to all of them because there's lots of them, but I do read through all the comments. And someone said my little pin, I'd actually had it here initially. They said I need to put it on the other side of the road, and that makes more sense when I looked at it, because I'm like, there we go. So let's put the little man. There's a little Google man. Don't be naughty now. We're going in. And that looks more like it, because I've seen lots of video clips. If you haven't yet seen the Oxygen series called The Disappearance of Crystal Rogers, I would recommend checking it out. There's 5 episodes, and they actually touched on quite a few of these cases as well, but not some of the initial ones that I'd mentioned. So there they talked about Crystal Rogers, Tommy Ballard, Jason Ellis, and also the double homicide of the mom and daughter that we'll look at now. Richardson family says, just because. Great work, Gisela, and most excellent mods. Thank you so much. Really appreciated. Chris Collins says they claim to have that gun. They see it. You mean the gun that killed Tommy Ballard? They said it meets 4 out of 5 criteria. So I don't know what the 5th criteria is, but it looks like... And remember, Nick Hauk sold an undercover agent this gun that they now believe they have that killed Tommy Ballard. He sold that gun using a fictitious name. So dodgy. I wonder what that undercover agent said to him. Like, listen, bro. I could just imagine, like, your brother has been arrested and charged with murder. If you have anything connected to any of these other, just sell it to me. I'll get rid of it. You know what I mean? Because I don't know why he'd be so dumb as to sell that gun. He probably thought, okay, someone's going to help me out of this. But no, everyone's looking at you now. I'm sure Nick Hauk is asking himself every day, am I going to get arrested next? S. Smith said, so much good information, I'm going to need to watch on replay. So this is the exit where Jason Ellis was driving, this exit 34 from the Bluegrass Parkway, like this. And as he rounded the corner here, someone had been, oh, you can't see nicely, there we go. Someone speculatively, according to a former FBI agent, retired FBI agent, would have been standing up here. So wait, let's just go a little bit more. Yeah, they could have easily just stood up here. They said there could also be more than one killer. It could be 2 or so. And so they stood up here and would have seen him coming around the corner and set him up with the branches across the road. He didn't have his dog Figo with him at the time. So just driving here after work, 3 a.m., excited to go home to his wife and kids, and doing a really good thing of moving the branches out the road, you know, helping the community as he always did. And he was shot. And a stranger found him, called the police, and then his wife was called, which I think that article is here with this clip. Okay, so let me play this for you. Hold on 1 second. Let me just let the ad play quickly while I adjust. Can we make it bigger? Hold on. Let's do this. Sometimes I've got an ad blocker, but sometimes these articles won't let you even see anything anymore if you put your ad block on.
Those who loved him coping after all this time.
WDRB's Stefan Johnson's been digging into what happened a decade ago. Stefan?
Jason Ellis's widow believes the killer will be brought to justice. She tells me that confidence comes from her faith in God and the people in charge of the investigation.
Next thing I know, I'm getting a knock on the door.
It has been 10 long years since a knock at the door changed her life forever.
I had never met the chaplain before that night, but it was the chaplain and another officer.
The chaplain and officer were there to deliver devastating news.
They just said, "I'm sorry, there's been an accident." And I'm like, "What do you mean there was an accident?" And I said, "Is he okay?"
Amy Ellis Brown is the widow of fallen Bardstown police officer Jason Ellis.
The other officer had tears. He said, "No, we didn't make it."
I'm just going to pause every now and then because there's music, and you know how YouTube gets with music. They will shut that stream right down, even if it's just piano. So let me just quickly get to some comments here. Jesse James has added another case. Cara Rigdon, missing. Last seen, July 2010, car found on Bluegrass Parkway with all belongings left inside. So I'm sure these are unsolved murder cases. I'm sure there's a lot of missing persons cases too, right? Imagine that. Wow. We're going to continue to look at this video in a moment. Vanilla Cupcake said in May of 2023, the Kentucky DEA made 137 plus cartel arrests. In May of 2023, oh my goodness. Whoa. I wonder if we'll ever hear more about that and if more cases will be solved. And Deb Van said, my daughter travels the Bluegrass Parkway all the time and she'll never stop in Bardstown for any reason. Oh my goodness.
That day, Amy lost her college sweetheart, father of her children.
We were married 9 years.
And devoted husband.
I did not think in my wildest dreams that we would not have answers. Like, I thought we would know within that first few months or a year.
But months eventually turned to years.
No, I did not think we would be here 10 years later.
Outside the Bardstown Police Department, there are memorials, and inside, the walls are covered with images of the fallen officer.
Every year it seems like we feel like, okay, you know, they feel like maybe they're closer.
Right now, the reward stands at nearly $250,000, and the case is being investigated by Kentucky State Police and the FBI.
And then it just never pans out.
Not only has there not been an arrest, but neither police nor Amy knows why it happened.
I, to this day, still have no, I don't understand, like, why him. I mean, he was well liked.
Before joining the department, Ellis played minor league baseball for a Cincinnati Reds affiliate.
He was very sweet and kind, and he had a big heart, and he would do anything for anybody.
Amy says the college sweethearts also had dreams.
You know, we had plans that, that things that we wanted to do and accomplish and where we wanted to be, and yes, growing old together.
That dream had a tragic ending.
I believe in God's timing, and I do believe in those that are working on the case.
So much music. Sorry about that. I'm gonna have to pause again. Can't believe. I mean, it's still unsolved. We still got more cases to look at, so hang in there with us, okay? Unfortunately, as I say, it feels horrible to be like, look at this small town and this unsolved, this one. There's so many. Could they be connected? I mean, that's encouraging, actually. Vanilla Cupcake saying in May of 2023, so May this year, the Kentucky DEA made 137 plus cartel arrests. My goodness. I wonder if that will lead to answers. That'll be amazing. I really hope, when we talk about these cases again, there'll be maybe even a press conference for everyone. That'll be amazing. We can dream, right?
But Amy doesn't believe it's how the story will end.
I know that they are wholeheartedly, tirelessly working on it, and I do trust that one day it will be solved.
Amy has moved away, remarried, and her boys are now teenagers.
They were young, they were 6 and 7.
But part of her heart will always live in Bardstown. And at least once a year, she returns for the memorial honoring her late husband.
I go every year, and I will be there on Thursday as well.
Okay, so we've got that there as well. Raoul says, is the species of tree branches used to block the road found on the Hauk farm? I don't know. Locals, if you have any information to share with us, please do that. Also, you guys, I was talking about the ad blockers on an article. If you don't want ads on YouTube, I would highly recommend YouTube Premium. Not sponsored. I don't do sponsors, but it's so helpful. If you don't want ads and you just want to be able to just watch without, looking at your screen the whole time, you just want to listen or whatever, you can do that. So, okay. This would be, so we've now looked at Jason Ellis's case as well. So now, let's see the next ones, right? Jackie, I wouldn't discount it. If you've been around here long enough with true crime, a lot of things can happen at many ages. So I wouldn't discount it immediately. To me, there'd still be a chance. Depending also on lots of things. Let's not go down that rabbit hole. The rabbit hole. I've already been down the rabbit hole for days. Now we're going to look at the case of Kathy and Samantha Netherland. A double homicide that's unsolved. April 21st of 2014. On April 21st of 2014, 48-year-old Kathy Netherland and her 16-year-old daughter Samantha were brutally murdered at approximately 8 p.m. in their home in the Botland area just outside of Bardstown. Kathy was a well-liked special education teacher, and Samantha was a 10th grader at Bardstown High School. Samantha was a typical teen, getting ready for prom, stressing about schoolwork. Kathy had been shot, and there were multiple bullet wounds. And Samantha had been bludgeoned and stabbed multiple times. So that's very different as well. One victim shot, one victim stabbed multiple times. I can't believe it, like a double homicide, just unsolved. No one knows at all what the motive would be, who did this. That's so crazy, right? Okay, and so Kathy and Samantha were not together when they passed away, her sister said. They were in different rooms, which would indicate to me that it seems like it was two people. But they both were tiny, tiny little people. Their bodies were discovered by Kathy's father on April 22nd after she failed to show up for work. That was of 2014. Linda Wool says, if you find tree branches or anything blocking the road, don't get out to move them. Go around. This is used as a trap. Be safe. Yes, I mean, of course, in Jason Ellis's case, he was, a police officer. So he was like, okay, it's gonna move this to keep everyone else safe. So that is quite hectic. So, can you believe this? And the other thing is that I think there's more details that I'll share here. They were also, just like the case we looked at of Jim Duckett, who was tied to a chair and tortured and stabbed, they were also tied to chairs and tortured. One was shot, one was stabbed. Investigators believe the killer was driving. Now, this is again, it's like with Jim Duckett's case, they've got the surveillance, even though it's not clear, of someone using his Dodge Ram pickup and then going to an ATM across town. Here, they actually have surveillance of someone driving a black Chevy Impala that night, which was captured on surveillance at a gas station half a mile from their home. They have not ever found a suspect or suspects and do not know the motive. Whoa. An inmate once leaked info. Now, they go into a lot of detail on this, on that Oxygen series. They say there's an inmate who leaked info where he said that they were tortured, that trophies were taken, and he claimed that their murders were part of a gang initiation. Now, Jim Duckett's case that we also looked at, there was also speculation that a trophy was taken there. Not sure what, but that's already sounding very hectic. And so this inmate says it's part of gang initiation, trophies were taken. It sounds like serial killing to me. But okay, he also said that a cell phone jammer was placed at the front door to kill all the cell phone signals in the house. Now, just 7 months after their deaths, the Netherlands home was sold at an auction for $41,000. A new playground was also dedicated to Kathy the next year. And people continued to push on, but their murders would not be the last to disturb Bardstown. There's a $50,000 reward for information leading to an arrest in the case. The number for state police is 270-766-5078. Kathy's husband had actually died from cancer shortly before they were murdered, leaving only Samantha's sister, Holly, surviving. Can't imagine the trauma. That is so hectic. So that would mean Holly's dad died of cancer, and then her mom and sister were brutally murdered, and it's completely unsolved. I mean, what? That is a lot. Can you believe all these cases? So let's go back to this little timeline that I made for you here, so that you can just see unsolved murders in Bardstown. Lucinda Strange. We looked at that now, okay? March 25th of 1990. Then Daniel Cahoe, January 5th of 2012. Jim Duckett, November 9th of 2008. Jason Ellis, May 25th of 2013. Kathy and Samantha Netherland, April 21st of 2014. Crystal Rogers, July 3rd of 2015. And Tommy Ballard, November 19th of 2016. So what do some of these cases have in common? Well, let's start with Crystal Rogers. She had told her mom the day before she disappeared that Brooks Houck, her boyfriend, she said, he thinks I'm stupid. He thinks I'm an idiot. He thinks I don't know what's going on, but I know. She's been doing some digging, and she found that he was doing some shady business and not paying his taxes, avoiding the IRS by getting cash payments for lots of rental properties. And she was onto him, doing some of her own investigation into his sus businesses and stuff. And still, they've never found her body. They don't know what happened to her, from what we know. But 8 years later, he was finally, that boyfriend, arrested and charged with murder and tampering with evidence. And Joseph Lawson was arrested just before him for conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with evidence. So she was like onto something. Tommy Ballard would not stop looking for his daughter. And he had told his wife, Sherry Ballard, this is a lot bigger than Crystal's case. This is huge. And he started uncovering a whole bunch of things. Then he said he was being followed. And the next minute, he was shot. So you know what I mean? It seems like every time someone gets really close to something, whatever it is that they're about to find out, it's like they're executed. Same with Jason Ellis. They say that he may have been, it's pure speculation, but may have been investigating some storage units or something that could have been connected. The police haven't been able to verify this, but that's the local speculation, right? Also from all the emails I'm getting, that he was getting close to maybe finding out what a fellow officer or officers were doing. I mean, as we know, Nick Houck, Brooks Houck's brother, was working the same shift as him, and so maybe he was getting close to finding something out there. Now, as for the Netherlands, I don't know, man. All I can say is that, ironically, although it's a small town, Jason Ellis's kids went to the school where Kathy Netherland was a teacher. So did Crystal's kids. So there's a little bit of a connection there, although it is a small town. You know, I don't know how many schools there are there. But yes, Jim Duckett seemed a little bit off the month before. His home was burglarized when he wasn't home. And he was a former crime scene investigator, so who knows what he stumbled on, if he found out anything, if he knew anything, or maybe it was, I don't know what was going on there. But that's a little odd. Daniel Cahoe could have been doing some odd jobs, wanting to make some extra cash. Who knows what he saw, witnessed, why he had to be executed, because he was literally shot execution style is what they said. And Lucinda Strange, What an absolutely brutal and random murder. She just went out for a walk at 7 p.m., a usual walk in 1990. Stabbed 40 times and just left on the side of the road. For no reason. You know, so could that be something like gang initiation, which is what they're saying about Kathy and Samantha Netherland? Speculation. Could hers also be something like that? Who knows? Okay, so that's what we have there. That's pretty much what I have for you. I just want to quickly see if there's any other articles I wanted to show you. Nope, that's there. There is also a group, I'll show you the map again in a moment, called Justice for Kathy and Samantha on Facebook. There's also a Crystal Rogers group. So there's many groups on Facebook if you do want to find them and keep up with some of the developments in the cases. But shame, these cases are just, I don't want to say cold, but it's almost like cold cases, unsolved in the area, right? Ooh, Raul says, that's a good question. What is the Bardstown's clearance rate on homicides? From what I read and heard, it's not so good. I think it's like 42%. Something like that. I think that came from that Oxygen documentary. I think they did look into that. Or I don't know where I read that or saw that. I've looked at so many things. C. Chinny says, private investigator needs to set up shop there. Yeah, with some bodyguards, right? With some bodyguards. Java Junkie says, I must admit I've got some catching up to do on this case. Well, at least there's a playlist for you. And you can just start from the top and go through all of that. Vanilla Cupcake says, oh boy, just found federal grand jury indicts 2 Nelson County residents for, can't say those words, 2 types of rugs for trafficking. Nelson County is where Bardstown is. Okay, interesting. Thank you so much, Vanilla Cupcake. If you find anything else that you think could be of interest in these cases, let me know as well. The FBI, of course, as we saw, is involved in Crystal Rogers' case, her dad, Tommy Ballard, and Jason Ellis's cases. So you can find their pages on the FBI.gov if you wanted to as well. And then, this clip I still wanted to show you. I'm just going to put this on 1.25 speed. And, sorry, I need to just resize that for you. This is Jason Ellis's family. Do you remember now from my presentation, Jason Ellis, the police officer who was shot after moving branches? This is about that case. I'm quickly going to play this for you, then I'm going to show you the map one more time. And that's all I can tell you for today, right? So have a look at this one quickly. Let's start playing this here.
S11 News, our coverage on the big development last week, and one of the top mysteries in Bardstown is continuing here tonight. In Nelson County, there are 4 families waiting for answers in 4 different high-profile cases. Hello, everybody.
And now, as we know, there's more than 4, right? There's many cases.
And thanks for joining us. I'm Doug Prophet.
And I'm Shay McAllister. One of those families got big news last week with an arrest in the Crystal Rogers case, but her family isn't the only one paying attention.
Do you feel like an arrest in Crystal's case is bringing you closer to some movement in Jason's?
I think it's hard for us because there hasn't been a lot of new information on Jason's case from the very beginning. We've kind of been at a standstill from the beginning. For us, there's a possibility that the cases are connected, and so for us, that makes us very hopeful that if they can make traction on one, that it'll bring answers for others. But then also, it could not be connected, and then where does that leave us when there's not been any new information on Jason's case?
Bardstown police officer Jason Ellis was killed on his way home from work in May of 2013. Investigators called it an ambush, describing purposefully placed tree limbs right on the highway exit that lured that public servant from his vehicle before he was shot and killed. Well, today in an interview you'll only see here on WHAS 11, I sit down with the Ellis family.
What were they even doing there? I don't know. Messing with mom, obviously.
For this family, photos are sacred, bringing them back to better times.
There he is. That's Jason.
Memories this mother
that's when he went to the police academy.
Hopes to never forget.
Oh, my little boy.
It's been a while since you guys have sat down to do an interview. Why did today feel like an okay time?
I definitely think it's time to talk about him more. It's been 10 years with no answers. It's been 10 years with no arrest made for his case either. So I definitely think it's time to start speaking up and almost demanding the answers that I think we deserve.
In between her daughters, Jason's sisters, Pam Deerwester puts it simply.
The bottom line is Jason was a good guy.
A good guy they want to see remembered for who he was, not how he died. Something they say will only happen when his case is closed.
There is some momentum happening in other cases. We're kind of getting that boost again to feel a little more confident that time could be coming for answers.
Investigators have never fully linked Jason's case to Crystal Rogers, but in 2020, the FBI told us they believed answers in one Bardstown case could lead to answers in others.
That's what the FBI said. answers in one Bardstown case could lead to answers in others. That's what we're hoping for, right? That's why I'm bringing these cases to you, so that you're aware of them, so that you can share them as well. And I mean, let's see. Let's hope that they can find answers for all these others.
The family agrees.
It's hard to not go there, though, too, because there seem to be similar people connected to each case.
So news of the arrest in Crystal's case was welcomed. It was also surprising.
It's hard not to be caught off guard, though. You know, you scroll Facebook or pop on the news, and then it's all these developments. An investigator can't even call me and tell me that this is kind of coming down the pipeline.
What's your communication like with investigators on Jason's case?
That's probably been the most disappointing part for us, because we don't hear anything. Outside, maybe the first...
I mean, I just feel for these families, they find out a lot on social media, you know, on Facebook or YouTube, wherever. It's just suddenly like, wait, what? Investigators haven't updated them on what could be developing. I really hope that there will be developments in these cases.
A couple of months after Jason was killed, it's kind of been radio silence.
They're in Kentucky, we're in Ohio. So we're not easy access like maybe Crystal's mom.
Do you guys ever go to Bardstown for any reason?
We were just there not too long ago.
Yeah? What's it like when you visit?
Loving. They're very open arms with us and very loving with us.
I definitely think there's also an eerie feel. It is. That's what I was going to say.
There's a lot of new people we don't know.
It's weird. Yeah.
And
you feel it.
It's odd.
Love that. Loving, also a little eerie. That sounds like Bardstown, right? Like even in Delphi a little bit. You know what I mean? If we think of these small towns, it's like loving, tight-knit, but also a little bit eerie, a little bit scary with all these unsolved cases.
You feel the dark cloud and the tension.
For Lacey, Jason's baby sister, there's a reason she feels that way. Some lingering questions about who might be behind her brother's death.
What police officer's case is still open in the United States? It makes me think that they don't want it solved. They're burying stuff under the rug, and there's too much that's going to come out.
Yeah.
And that's what makes me nervous.
The one thing they're certain of.
We know the FBI isn't fully on Jason's case, but I think there's more going on behind the scenes than we even know.
And they hope when answers do arrive.
They're on the case, though. The FBI, I know this is his family. I'm just saying they've got a page dedicated to Jason Ellis on FBI.gov. So that's really good as well.
They get all of them.
We want to make sure that when this goes down, everybody who was responsible have to answer for it. We deserve it.
Yeah. I think we all deserve it. I think everybody in that town that has lost somebody deserves it.
Yes.
Kentucky State.
This is Shay McAllister, who's been reporting on the case for many years. They're in Bardstown, yes. Crystal, okay, so mistakes we are made. Says the Crystal Rogers case, me and my wife believe that Crystal overheard Brooks and his brother talking about killing Ellis, and then they decided she had to go. I mean, it could be plausible. We're just speculating. We're not sure, but of course someone would have to know his schedule and routine, and I mean, yeah, Nick Hauk worked the same schedule, so that's a red flag, of course. William House says, how did the person know that the officer would stop and pick up the tree limbs? They would know his schedule and his way home and his routine and all of that, right? And they probably put it in the road in such a way. Also 3 a.m, you know, a small town, not many people would probably be exiting there off exit 34 at that time. And so maybe they put the branches all across the road in a way that one couldn't just drive around it or whatever. You'd have to stop and get out and move them. So we looked at that. There's just quickly one more overview here of the map, and then we're going to go. That's my deep dive for you on all these other cases. So let's look at this again one more time here, just so that you can see it for all the cases we discussed today. Can't believe it. It's unbelievable when you start mapping it out. You're like, oh my word, look at all of these. Just make it like this so you can see nicely. Okay, so Lucinda Strange was found just murdered on the side of the road right here. Her poor husband, sending so much love to him. Oh my goodness. And her family. There's the Hauk family farm. The Ballard family farm is here, so that would be Crystal Rogers' parents. You know, the Ballard family farm, Tommy Ballard and Sherry. Oh, shame. Poor Sherry as well. Kathy and Samantha Netherland were murdered here. This is where Sherry and Tommy's home is, or was. Tommy Ballard was shot here while hunting. And we've got the Hawks brothers that lived here. These were their homes on Glenview Road. Nick Houck then moved right after Crystal went missing. Okay. And apparently Crystal's uncle, Mike Ballard, bought that house that Nick moved out of. And so, what else do we have? We've got that, and then we looked at Daniel Cahoe as well, who was shot execution style in an abandoned barn, and Jim Duckett over here. So if we just zoom out, look at this, look at all of these unsolved murders in Bardstown, Kentucky, and just outside. So that's what we looked at today. I hope that you will help me in sharing this, so please like, share. If you haven't yet subscribed, sorry, I made myself big there for a second. Make sure you subscribe, hit it again, because if you hit it again, you can click all and you get all notifications. If you want reliable notifications, Patreon's also a place to do that. And I'll keep you posted on what happens. As I say, I'm keeping my eye on next week, which will be October 26th, when Joseph Lawson is back in court. I'm not too sure what that's all going to be about, but I'm going to see what the result would be, what's going to happen next with him. And then Brooks Houck is back in court in February of 2024. So that is what we have. Wildfire says, love that necklace so much, G. Oh, thank you so much. It's actually got little orange crystals in. And in Crystal Rogers' case, her family has been sharing on the group. And ever since she went missing, orange and pink ribbons and balloons and things in their shirts were oftentimes orange as well. So that's why I decided to wear that. Yes. Okay. Vanilla Cupcake says, supposedly there was a fire at their mom's on the 15th of July, which I think is the same day as Nick's interview, working on getting the article pulled from the Kentucky Standard. Thank you so much. I mean, yeah. If you look into the arson events also related to the Houck brothers, that also gets very interesting. My goodness. So Tiff Knox says, and now to replay. Yes, you guys, watch the replay. If you missed the earlier stream, that was a deep dive on the Lisk case, Long Island serial killer, the suspect, Rex Heuermann, and the press conference that they had yesterday. So if you haven't seen the press conference, go check that out. Then, if you don't understand what's going on in that press conference, don't worry. I had you covered. In the stream we did just before this today, that was a deep dive. You might want to check that out. I would say you shouldn't miss that one, because there was a lot of details shared there. A whole backstory, and then exactly what was shared in that press conference. Then Delphi. There was supposed to be a hearing today. It happened for 3 whole minutes, and Richard Allen's attorneys have withdrawn from the case. Massive news. Of course, that means I'm just saying very likely. To me, it's like impossible his trial will start on January 8th, but we can say it in a politically correct way. It's probably unlikely that it will happen then, right? Oh dear. He's going to need an entirely new defense team. Oh, no. So that's the big Delphi news. If you didn't see my YouTube short, please go check it out. Give that a thumbs up. You can share that easily on social media as well. Check out my community tab, because I often share things there with you guys. And if there's any like interesting documents or more news in what's happening with the Delphi case, I will keep you posted. You'll see me tomorrow then with a presentation. I just want to see what comes out now, because right now it was like, there's going to be a hearing and supposed to start at 2, and it ended up being a 3-minute meeting where they said that they are withdrawing from the case. So there's that. T-Tree said, G is the master breaker-downer in the complicated cases and intricate webs. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everyone who supported the channel today in whatever way you chose to do that. Remember, a great way is just to watch my videos. So even if you just pop me on in the background or something, that helps a lot. Thank you for watching my videos and being here with me today to discuss all these cases. I really hope all these families will get the justice that they deserve. And I hope that they know, if they're watching, this is a safe space. They are welcome here. We show them lots of love and support. We keep it grizzly, as we say. Kind, respectful to victims and their families. Okay, so thank you, mods. Really appreciate it for that double stream today. I will see you all again very soon. Members are going to say, don't go. Don't worry, members. We'll have a members-only stream again soon. I can't believe it's already Friday tomorrow. Can you believe it? Damn, in 2 hours already, I'm clocking over to Friday. It's 10 p.m. my time here in the Netherlands. Okay, everyone. Now I'm waffling. I'm going to go. See you maybe tomorrow with another update. Okay, bye everyone.